broadcasting live from the great New York City landscape. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. Thank you very much for checking me out. Thank you for your support, for your people who's returning, who's subscribed. Thank you very much for everyone who subscribed, of my friends and families and people who just like my content. And this is your first time. Hopefully you stick around and you subscribe too. Hopefully you enjoy what I got to say, because what I got to say, I think, sparks a lot about insight, thought, good stuff. Anyways, as I usually start off with my title drop for my podcast is, do you heed the warning signs? You need to learn to heed the warning. Or, sometimes people say the writing is on the wall. You have to understand that we have this great skill set, if you want to call it, as people, to ignore a lot of things that are blaring in front of us, things to change. Sometimes people get into relationships where they say, I was just so smitten in love. I was totally ignoring all the flags that were coming up and everything, or certain situations that probably too good to be true. We get ourselves caught up in it because we didn't heed the warnings. Well, I usually like to get into statistics to at least, bolster what I'm talking about. So I'm not just talking jibber jabber. All right. 29% of people ignore the check engine light on their vehicle. Everyone has done it. I've done it in the past. I try not to have the mindset now. As soon as I see it pop on, I'm like, oh boy, that's some money or an inconvenience is going to happen. But anyways, 29%. It's not as high as I thought. I think it's probably a little bit higher. That's my personal opinion. And the source of that is SWNdigital.com around 2017. But nonetheless, it's still a good amount of people. It's 29, 30%, getting close to 50%. So it's still a good amount as opposed to 5% or 4%. So much people, they keep driving around where the check engine light is on, flashed on, turn ignition on, you start going to where you're going, and you pretty much get complacent where you're like, I get to that when I get to that. Or, it always does that with certain things, but you have to really go check it out. Either you learn to be a mechanic yourself or go check that bad boy out, get a good diagnostic, go to a reputable mechanic that you need to, make sure that everything is good, everything is great in your vehicle to get that light off, because it's there for a reason. It's not there just to annoy you, and it's not just there to, as a regular part of the dashboard interface. But let me go further, all right? Going into another aspect, more into my professional career field, people ignore software security signs about from 75% to 90% of the time due to a pop-up coming up at an inopportune time. That's a lot of people. That's damn near everybody. 75% to 90% of people just straight up ignore, any software security, antivirus protocol or signs that pop up, anything that may say, hey, don't go to this website, or you sure you want to download this file? So much people just skim through it, basically. That's from, the source from that is www.phys.org. That's around 2016. And I'm not going to say I haven't done it. I'm guilty. It's the same thing like those EULA, the end user license agreements, where you download a service or a product or an app and you're like, okay, whatever, let's just hit next. I agree. Let me just go and get to the good stuff, what I wanted from the service, this product in the first place. We easily put ourselves in a state of being, hazardous. It could be for our health, could be for our products, could be for our information, our data. So much things that we compromise because we just don't heed the warnings. And they're there for a reason. You could say, because the companies that are probably giving us these products, they don't want any legal issues. Of course, who wants legal issues? Who wants harm to anyone's person or their property on their hands, So, if I'm going to make a product or a service, I'm going to make sure it's the best thing out there that's not going to cause any harm. But in the case it does, there are warning signs. But unfortunately, people tend to reject those and ignore those. Going further, all right, we're going to go further with our attempts to focus on attention and important things. Driving. Rumble strips are put on the roads to alert people that start to veer off of their lane or off the road itself. It's useful for someone who's distracted. Many of us are distracted. Even before we had cell phones and stuff, people were distracted some way, somehow. Probably not as much, but people were distracted, and people who were sleepy. And sleepy driving is terrible. I've had one instance where I didn't crash, thankfully, but I was really tired, super tired. I was still in the military. I had to go back to my base in the morning, and I didn't get enough sleep. You can say that's on me, but my body was just tired. It was just tired. And I said, let me just head back to base, and it was a wild ride where I was driving, had the windows all the way down. That worked for like about 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I turned the music up blasting. That worked for a couple of seconds. I would, start slapping myself sometimes, when I feel myself drowsy. And it was not a great feeling. And I was so drowsy where it seemed like to me where the lines in the road looked like they started to wave. They started to wiggle a bit. And I would always remember that. And after I got back to my destination, my base, safely, I said, I ain't doing that again. No way am I going to put myself in that predicament. There's times where you may feel like, hey, I want to rest. That's cool. But when you're sleepy, don't do that. So because some people that want to go out there and sleep and everything, and that is an unfortunate testament of how our American lives are, because many, many years ago, television used to cut off at like 12 o'clock. And people were either went to bed because you're not at work, you're not at school. And if you weren't one of those people who were in bed, like the majority of the country, you were doing a profession or career that required you to be up at certain times. You worked for a hospital, you were a policeman, you worked as a fireman, you were EMT, you were a truck driver, there's certain positions, in hospitality, hotel. Certain positions will, require you to be up past certain times. But, we kind of had certain, standards. So like, hey, if you're not up, if you don't need to be up at past a certain time, take your behind to bed. What are you doing up watching TV? And that's part of our culture now, because it started with infomercials. I was talking with my good friends about that in depth. And, TV just started coming on 24/7. Now, anything you want, it's there, keeping people up. We have the paper chasing where we're grinding away 9 to 5. We try our best to work to hopefully get a better footing of what we want from life. But then, as a distraction from that, we have television, we have movies, we have music, all that stuff. But now it's 24/7. So that is a definite contributor to people staying up longer. People who get less sleep in our nation overall, guess what? A lot more drowsy drivers. I had a point to all that rambling. So we have rumble strips, so it could wake you up. That's the case. I could have used that when I was driving, case in point. But in the same time, people who are distracted, you may be veering off in the other lane. Pay attention. So much things can be avoided if we just pay attention to things, especially the warning signs. Heed the warnings. All right. Now we have some vehicles now that have automatic braking systems to stop for us when a potential collision is detected. That's great. I'm not going to lie. It's great. It's right out the books of science fiction and even fantasy, but we need to be doing better, because we're trying to make things easier for us. But at the same time, we are losing focus on a lot of things. We have a lot of technology, a lot of things. We have a lot more freedoms and luxuries available to us. But are we really ready for these things? Are we really ready to take full advantage and to say, hey, you know what? We deserve this stuff. We could use it. We're fully responsible. I don't know about that. That is definitely up for much argument and debate. to see if we're really ready for the luxuries and the freedoms that we have, especially in this country, but in the world all over. So the point I'm making is that we're becoming way too dependent on other things for our own accountability. So instead of us being accountable and really looking at what we're doing and taking stock in what we have and how we treat it and our actions with these things, we're making people, entities, and even products and technology accountable for us where we should be accountable ourselves. I understand, it's technology that helps people out, and it does, and it saves lives, yes. But why do we have to have these things here to save lives in the first place? Because we're not paying attention to the warnings properly. That's why. I'm gonna go forward with some more that reflects our wonderful Western culture here. Nearly 1 in 2 Americans take prescription drugs. Nearly 1 in 2. So that's just about 50% of America. That's a lot. Take prescription drugs. All right. The source from that is Bloomberg.com, that's circa 2019. And some may probably even argue that it's more than 50%, but 50% or just about 50% is a good amount. Prescription drugs are usually the preferred method to resolve medical conditions. There are some conditions that, yes, you could say is probably unavoidable, probably due to accidents or certain things or some things people are just born with. Yes, I understand. Or even a temporary fix or relief for a specific things you got going on with you medically, internally, biologically, even psychologically. But what that does now, again, it's another indicator, a good reflection of where we are. Because there are a lot of ailments and sicknesses that can be avoided. I always going to say, due to lifestyle, your mindset, it's good to be positive, but you have to have that conducive with positive diet, positive activity, and even positive company that you keep around you, be it family or friends or whoever, or associates. It's all in how we need to take stock, take responsibility in what we do, what we allow into our lives, into our bodies, into our minds. It's a lot more than just thinking of technology of we need to make technology to, stop this from happening. Cool, I get it. When you have technological advancements, industrial revolutions and advancements, you're going to have things in place to stop, death or harm or destruction, or even an inconvenience from happening. I get it. It's what it is. It's just the law of physics for certain things. Like you have elevators, over the years, I can only imagine how the first elevators looked before they had, certain buttons that lit up. We had telecom systems in case someone's stuck, emergency brakes in there. We had automatic doors that, sense when someone is in the way and it stops from closing. It's so much things, that were developed. I get that. But then we get to the point where, we have to take stock in what we actually do, because we are far more capable than we give ourselves credit for. We do like to get all of the luxuries and the bells and whistles, but, are we really deserving of these things? You could take a clip from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Free will is an insane amount of power. It is a definite gift. Our talents and abilities, again, it's an insane amount of power that we have. And the sad part is most of us don't realize this thing. But going back to the free will, that is an insane amount of power that we have to really take seriously. Because our decisions, based on our ability to make free will judgments and decisions and everything and actions, they hold consequences. They hold real life consequences. Some consequences may be immediate, where you could see the effects. Some of them are long-term, or some actions you do or words you say starts a domino effect. So you may not see the direct result right then and there, but especially with continued practice, it's going to have an effect and affect so much things. You always have to approach things with a good sense of wisdom humility, and even compassion, empathy, sympathy for others as well of what you're doing, because so many people feel like, I'm not hurting anybody. You're hurting yourself. And at the same time, your very presence affects other people around you, whether you wish to accept that or not. But we have to focus on you getting the individual right to understand that, yeah, I need to eat better. I need to get more sleep. I need to use better products. I need to pay attention to certain things. Utilize your time good. Utilize your time that you have to improve yourself. You read a book, audiobooks. I'm always looking to listen to audiobooks. Read a real book is something engaging in reading a proper book. Go exercise. Change your mindset around with certain things. Educate yourself with the world that's out there, because all that will contribute to you constructing a proper life and existence and impact for other people and everything around you. Because, we want more and more and more, but we're definitely not ready for it as a whole. There's some people who are cool with what they have. They understand what they have and they utilize it to the utmost. It doesn't have to just be in the form of them having a lot of wealth because they know how to manage money and time properly. But many people may admire you because you're just a good person overall, because you look to help people out, you do what you say you're gonna do, you do a good job, or you're just basically nice to people. These things contribute to us having a better mindset and having more humility to when certain warning signs or red flags come up, we are very respondent in the proper way to them. So these things that I ran down, people ignoring their check engine light, the rumble strips, all the parking assist in vehicles. So many people don't know how to park properly. I could attest to that. I park nice. I'm not tooting my own horn. I park pretty blasted good. So I figure if you have a license, you should be able to park. But, that's, again, another discussion for another time. Automatic braking systems, pharmaceuticals, because we have poor state of health overall in this country, because we eat the wrong stuff and do the wrong crap. You heard it already from me, you hear from many other people as well. But you have to learn to heed all of the warnings. They are there for a reason. Our bodies tell us what's wrong. It's just the fact that we've become so normalized. We've normalized the fact of ignoring it, and that becomes dangerous. This is the whole reason I ran on all these things, because people ignore certain things. So we have to keep putting more things into place and more things into place and more things into place. So we're doing more things where we're allowing our technology and our products to take away accountability. We're losing accountability. We're becoming less aware of ourselves and everything around us, but yet we want more. There's going to be a breaking point. There's going to be a breaking point. And we all need to take stock and real accountability. I'm not the most perfect driver. I try to drive as good as I possibly can. There's times I make mistakes. I try to be mindful about many things. Yes, experience is the best teacher, but at the same time, prevention is the best cure. So if you could do your best to prevent certain things from happening, then, you do it. Always go back to when I was in basic. My TI said, if you could have done things right the second or third time around, chances are you could have gotten it done right the first time around. All about focus. No one's perfect. But the more most of us be focused on things, we will be so much more better for it. But that's all I got for today. I hopefully made you guys think about something. I tried to make major issues into something really simple to see. This is the purpose why I do this, why I talk, why I have my podcast, and hopefully that's why you guys are listening to me. And if you want to listen to more or see more of my content, you could always visit my website, which is www.brooklynbaritone.com. I am also on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Brooklyn Baritone. You could also find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn too, as Corey Ashley, if you want to know. And also, I am on the Google Play Store and the iTunes Play Store. Thank you very much for sitting me out. Thank you for listening. You will hear from me next week. I pray that all of you are blessed. I want you guys to walk good and, take care. I'm out.